Hi there, this is Andrew from Big Idea Ventures. Today, this is the Big Idea podcast where we focus on food. We're going to be talking to Jessica Harris. Jessica is the co-founder of Hungry Little Bandits, a yogurt, plant-based yogurt company based in the UK, who started the company because of her son's allergies. The product is incredible. Jessica's incredible. The whole team's incredible. Let's have a conversation with them. And by all means, if you have questions or comments, please do leave them at the end of this podcast. Hello, welcome to the Big Idea podcast where we focus on food. How are you today? Bye-bye.
Hi, Andrew. I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. So we're both in our homes. We've got the whole COVID thing going on. So anything could happen. The mailman could appear. An aeroplane could, drop an engine in the back lawn. There's all sorts of crazy crazy stuff that could go on.
Probably most likely my little son will come and make an appearance. That'll be, that's probably the most likely one to happen.
And that will be fun. My dog is looking at me like he wants to, bite my leg off or something. Anyway, why don't we get into Jessica Harris and Little Bandits and find out more about what you guys do?
Yeah, please. So Little Bandits, we're the dairy-free brand for kids. And really, the business has been inspired by my experience. So my son's got food allergies, Jonah, he's 6, and he's allergic to dairy and soya. And we got incredibly frustrated that there was like nothing on shelf for him that was either fun, healthy to eat, and taste good. So that's where Little Bandits has been born.
So where are you today?
At home in Lewes, which is in Sussex in the UK, from our attic. So I don't have an office, so I'm still very much home working with our little small team that we've got. But yeah, it's good. It's all good.
And for those watching the video, behind you is a cartoon character.
Yes.
One of the Little Bandits.
That's right. These are our Banditos. So they are on all our packs as well. That's kind of, the brand has been inspired by my son, but I didn't want Jonah's name to be the brand. So I wanted it to be, it's all been inspired by him. So it's kind of bits of character from him, but also I guess it's meant to symbolize childhood, right? So all that's fun and carefree about being a child and these mischievous little creatures, just kind of embodying that experience of childhood, the carefree nature that childhood should be. And you shouldn't be really worried about what you're eating. It should just be a fun, food should be fun, right? And that's what we're trying to make, Little Bandits.
So when you talk about these mischievous little creatures, are you talking about the kids or the characters?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They kind of like are the same. And we've done them kind of quite androgynous. So they can be boys or girls. There's no gender there. But they kind of embody all the personality of childhood.
Awesome. So yogurts are the first set of products. You've got how many SKUs?
That's right. So we've got 3 SKUs, but only 2 on the market at the moment. So strawberry and banana on the market, and our apple and pear. We're really excited to launch it. So we're working hard on that. And the strawberry and the banana are on sale at Asda currently, and also being served in nurseries across the southeast.
So one of the things I get asked a lot about, whether it's, at a conference or on a panel or something, isn't this plant-based stuff too many ingredients, too much sugar, too much sort of stuff? Now, obviously, one of the ways I respond to them is generation 1 of these products, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, longer maybe, were all very much about trying to accomplish taste, and they did it through hook or by crook. But more and more generation 2, generation 3 products are really taking on board this, simplicity, less ingredients, less sugar. How does Little Bandits stack up in that sort of area?
So I suppose we've also been on a bit of journey. So we saw an opportunity, a gap in the market, and we wanted to move really quickly. So we went really quickly into it with a coconut-based yogurt, which we knew kids liked, which was allergy friendly. So it kind of ticked a lot of boxes. We are now in our second iteration of that product, and we are bringing down the coconut levels, so making it a healthier product. But we've always got a commitment to being low sugar. And our ingredient deck is pretty simple. There's not an awful lot of ingredients in it. It's literally your fruit, purees, your starch, coconut, water, and a few natural flavorings. So we're kind of keeping it as clean as we can. One of the things we have struggled with over time is sugar. So I think, the yogurt category is rife with sugar, right? It's really, really high. And our yogurt's got 50% less sugar than the leading kids' dairy brands. But we actually, in our strawberry, we have actually got some sugar in it, but we'll always be below the 5 grams per 100 grams of sugar. And it's just because that flavour is actually really hard to get. And we don't want to put lots of artificial sweeteners in it. We want to try and achieve that as naturally as possible, but still keeping it well ahead of the yogurt category, which we are. We've also got 25% more calcium in. So it's really important that we were fortifying our products so that parents didn't feel they were having to compromise on some of the nutrition they would get from dairy. So we've got 25% more calcium. We've got iodine. So we're the first kids plant-based yogurt to have iodine, which is also really important in early childhood development. And that's from natural seaweed. And then we've also got vitamins B, 12 and D.
So iodine through seaweed. That makes it sound like it's not going to taste very good, but I've tasted it and it tastes amazing. So how do you accomplish that?
So seaweed is a tiniest amount that you need in, because you don't want to over compensate for iodine. So it's a really small amount. So you get it's very neutral in flavour. And we've worked, and this came from a conversation I was having with someone whose actual professional name is Dr. Seaweed, and he really knows his stuff. And so he was the one who's created these amazing products, and we use a tiny bit of his product into our yogurts to get that fortification. And it's all sustainable. So it's not, some of the seaweeds I know aren't a sustainable source, but ours is.
Well, I mean, I really applaud the sustainability focus, and we often choose companies with not often, we always choose companies with that focus. But what made you come from that direction? Why? I mean, obviously, originally the goal was to create a product that your son, who had allergies, could consume and enjoy and be just like every other kid out there, from a health perspective. But now you're kind of covering off simplicity of product, low sugar, fortification, sustainability. There's a lot of boxes to try and check. What made you want to go in those different directions?
So Jonah was diagnosed really young. So he was diagnosed at 3 months old, which is a lot younger than a lot of children who've got cow's milk allergy are diagnosed with. So, and that's because he was one of the small proportions who was picking it up through my breast milk. So I was eating dairy and I was passing it on to him, and then he'd have a reaction within 72 hours. So it's quite hard at the beginning to pinpoint what it was. But once I pinpointed what it was, once we got him diagnosed, obviously I cut out dairy from my diet. I wanted to carry on breastfeeding him. And it was really, I've been on a bit of a journey myself. So then I started reading about, obviously doing a lot of research online about dairy, not just in the form of allergies, but actually understanding the industry a bit more and understanding the sustainability arguments a bit more. And suddenly I was like, oh, okay, this is not great. And I was a big cheese fan. So cheese was the thing that was really hard to give up. But obviously you'll do anything for your child. So that bit was easy, but then I've not gone back to it. So I've made a decision that that's a life choice that I've made, that I don't want to go back to eating dairy. So there was a personal enlightenment, I suppose, along the journey. And then in terms, look, we all know it's around us daily, the impact that so many things are having on the environment, and food is one of them, and the way we eat and the way we live. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't creating and adding to that problem as best I could. So all of our packaging is recyclable. We haven't yet come up with something better for yogurt because there isn't one that exists as far as I know. So it is plastic, but it is recyclable pots, and all our lids are recyclable, and the outer sleeves are recyclable, and the box that we deliver in is recyclable. So we're trying wherever we can to make sure we're having as minimal impact as we possibly can in a negative way on the world. Perfect. And I think that's how, as we're seeing the increase in people are moving to flexitarianism and plant-based diets for reasons around environmental and health, they want to be able to live that way as a family. I think quite often it's because they don't have choices and they don't want to compromise on nutrition. So when it comes to their children, they will still be giving them things that they think are the best, obviously the best for their health. So we wanted to come up with something that provides a nice alternative for people who might just be trying to cut down and reduce, as well as actually people who want to be moving to a plant-based diet.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from parents, testimonials, just sort of conversations in the school corridors and that sort of thing? How are you getting, what are people thinking about the product?
So I think most of our feedback is via social at the moment, obviously, I suppose, because we're still small. And I would say while our number of followers is still small and growing, we're getting really high quality engagement. So the feedback we're getting is, in some cases is life changing, right? Because they've been families with kids with allergies that haven't had choice before, that have never tasted yogurt before. And so and a lot of it is about feeling included. So our brand is about trying to come up with an inclusive brand that all children won't feel different, right? You don't want your child to feel different at school. You don't want them to feel different at parties. And so we've come up with a brand that hopefully doesn't pinpoint a child's difference, but actually is just a fun brand that all kids like to eat. And I think we're hitting that. Also, one of the biggest barriers for families who have to choose these products is usually price. Now, we are more expensive. There's no way we can make it same price as dairy. Dairy is exceptionally subsidized here in the UK, and I'm sure it is in other parts of the world. But we are still not at a point where it's acting as a barrier to those who need it, and that was really important. So our margins might be slightly smaller than maybe some average ones in the food industry, but that was very purposeful. If we made it too expensive, family budgets couldn't stretch to it, so there would be no point. You wouldn't be answering the problem that we were seeking to solve. So we've tried to make it at a really good price, and we haven't had anybody complain about that, which was a big achievement for us.
So the price is within what, 5%, 10% of dairy yogurt?
No, it's higher, but we're not the most expensive dairy-free brand out there. And we at the moment we're on sale in Asda. So I don't know if your viewers will know Asda, but Asda is more for your kind of budget shopper, someone who might be on a smaller budget than those that go to Waitrose. So it's much more mass. And we're still managing to achieve a decent rate of sale for a product that's sort of still niche in many cases. And I think that's a testament, and that we haven't had any complaints. Before we were launched, we were having people saying, please don't make it £3 a pot, because it is a big barrier for families.
Well, I mean, the product tastes great, even if it's dairy. I don't mean it quite like that. What I mean is, from a packaging perspective, it's really impactful. You look at it and you're like, wow, I actually want to try this thing. And then you try it and it tastes as good, if not better, than a dairy equivalent. So I'm guessing there are people out there who haven't even figured out that it's non-dairy yet. They're just sort of, oh, here's a new yogurt, I'll try this, take it home, put it in, consume it, and then don't even realize that it's non-dairy at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, we sit in the free from section, so I guess there is that. We do, yeah. I mean, things are progressing, but the chillers they're right next to each other, but we are definitely in the free from section next to the dairy section. So it's not very far that people have to travel, but I think people probably do know that we're not. And it's coconut based, so you can taste coconut. So you're not going to like it if you don't like coconut. But yeah, I mean, I think we've achieved it. I think that it's interesting. The one thing that is challenging for us is when you go to an older age range, the eldest of our age range, when kids might be used to sweeter yogurts. So that's where we might struggle a little bit. But kids growing up on it and the younger kids having it, they really enjoy it, and the parents enjoy it because they know the sugar is so much lower than its counterparts.
Perfect. So do you come from a food background? Is this one of many products you've launched in your life?
Absolutely not. This has been a steep learning curve for me. No, my background, I worked in international development for 21 years. So for non-profits, if you've got a US audience, in fundraising and strategy and program development, and which has been amazing. But I was ready for a change, and I think there's nothing you can't get almost further from what I was doing before. But I've got a co-founder whose background is in food, which is amazing, because when I started this journey, I was doing it as a solo founder. And, my first objective was to get a mentor who knew knew the industry. And I did that, and that was amazing. And she really helped me. And ideally, I wanted a co-founder, but you can't just almost magic one that you're going to connect with, that it's going to work well, that you're going to work well with. So Lucy Orton is my co-founder, and she's got 17 years experience in the food industry, specifically in product development. And she also launched the first free from chill dessert business to the UK called Podology, which she ran for several years and was really successful, had distribution in Sainsbury's, in Asda and Ocado. So she's been brilliant to have on board. So really complements my lack of knowledge.
And did she start as your mentor and then gravitate towards founder, or are they two separate people when you say
two separate
mentor?
people? Two separate people, yeah. So my mentor had done a couple of startups, and she's a startup advisor now. And she connected me to product developers in the beginning, and they connected me to a manufacturer. But it wasn't. I met Lucy in 2019. So a mutual contact, John Stapleton, who was the founder of Covent Garden Soup. You might know him. Yeah. He said to me, "You really must speak to Lucy. Like, she'll be able to share so much knowledge and learning." But she was just about had made the decision to liquidate her business. So I was like, this is the worst time to be contacting this lady. But I rang her up, and she was like, actually, this is the best time because I don't know what I'm going to do next. And so I came on. I guess she came on as a consultant, and I was her first client. And we worked together for 6 months really to help me get to launch into Asda. And then she came on as co-founder. So it was amazing because we had 6 months of working together, knew how it was working, knew it was going to work. And so that's the best thing I think you could ask for, is having had that previous kind of experience of working with one another before you enter that kind of relationship.
So you worked in an NGO. Yes. You found out that your son had allergies when he was about 3 months old.
Yeah.
And you had a light bulb moment with, I'm going to go create a company that solves this problem for kids throughout the world. I'm just wondering, like, how do you go from where you were to, Little Bandits and a decision to sort of go all in on solving this problem?
So I guess I'd always wanted to start my own business. It's always been something that's been niggling me in the back. And I was a consultant before this, so I guess in some ways I did have my own business, but it was in international development. And I was really ready for a change. I've been doing that for 21 years, and I was desperate for a change. And then obviously Jonah came along. We had this challenge. I found it incredibly challenging as a first-time mum, facing this challenge. And I was on all these groups for all these other allergy parents, giving lots of support to each other. And it was really, I suppose, when we started to come to weaning him that I realised, well, hang about, there's a real gap here. With plant-based is booming, free from is taking off, but there's this demographic of children and families that are being completely forgotten, and yet the prevalence rate in kids is so much higher than it is in adults of food allergies, and no one's catering for them. Isn't this like a glaring opportunity and a glaring, missed part of the need? And so I went out to the communities that I've been part of and did research with. 240 parents responded to my research, and I'd asked loads of different questions. It was also from parents like me who gave up dairy, what they were missing. And then of course it was like, well, no, it is all about the kids. And one of the questions I asked totally was like, basically, what do you find hard to source for your child with allergies that would otherwise be easy, or is easy for your other kids? And then overwhelmingly people came back and said kid-friendly yogurts. And it was like, bam, of course, there's nothing there. And then I think about my experience, and I was growing up, my parents would just give me a yogurt as a really easy, healthy dessert. And so that's where the idea came from for yogurts as our starting point. And I think, I felt passionate. You do about your children, and desperate that I saw a time. Jonah's always known he's different. I could see a time where he might start to feel excluded. So, you go to birthday parties, and there was one we went to, and I've got used to it now. So I bring all food substitutes with me. But, there was a lunchbox that they were all given, and it had a Baby Bell in it, and it had a cheese sandwich in it, and it had crisps that have milk in them, and an apple, which you could have. But that was it. You could have the apple. And it was just suddenly realizing that dairy is in so many things. So it's not just the birthday cake you need to think of, and that's hard enough that he feels like he misses out. And one party, oh God, this is when your heart breaks. He'd seen the cake and he was like, Mummy, can I have some? I said, no, sorry, it's got dairy, but I've got you a cake. He said, but can I just hold it? Because it was a beautiful kid-friendly cake, and all he wanted to do was have a bit of the birthday cake. So I guess, so, no one's driven more than, making sure your child can feel included as part of an, environment like birthday parties or Easter egg hunts. It was coming up with a product that hopefully lots of children can enjoy, not just those who can't have dairy, but all children.
I think one of the things that I find really exciting about what you're doing and some of the other folks are doing in this space is the products are not sort of shadow experiences to the original. They're not sort of almost as good or almost as tasty or almost as, whatever. They're actually, kids using these products are not having a second rate anything versus the original. And I love that. I love that it's not only that they're included, but it's that they're having the same experience, but just in a slightly different way.
Yeah, thank you. That's great to hear, and that's definitely what we're aiming for. But we know we can keep improving, and so we've just done an HFSS reformulation of our current yogurt, and we've got big ideas. So we want to do another iteration of our yogurt where we can get a higher protein content into what we're doing, and make maybe a slightly more sustainable base than coconut. So we're constantly looking at ways we can keep improving, and that's really exciting.
Now, here's the craziest thing. We were recently at a dinner together where a French chef had taken some of your ingredient and used it, or your yogurt, your regular kids-friendly yogurt, and he had turned it into this like incredible cordon bleu style dish. And it's not just a kid-friendly yogurt in a pot. It's an ingredient. It's something you can use in many, many different ways, should you choose to.
Yeah, I mean, it was so exciting to see someone do things like that. I would never have thought of putting it with beetroot, but it worked. And I guess that's also because our product is not overly sweet, and it's not, so you can use it in savory dishes. Yeah, that was amazing to see. Really amazing to see.
So you're in Asda.
Yeah.
I guess the next step is to get into more retailers across the UK and further afield. Is that what's next, or are you moving geographically, or are you actually more around the channel at the moment?
So yeah, it's basically we are looking at getting more listings, and so we've done a couple of pitches in the last month or two. So fingers crossed we'll have some news to announce soon on that front. Yeah, fingers crossed. And then also we are also continuing to try and push in education, because again, it's really, I feel very passionate. For children to feel included, they need to have choices wherever they go, and come on, let's be honest, primary school and nurseries, etc., is when they spend most of their time. So let's make sure they've got good choices there that are healthy and also fun. So also pushing on that. And so we again might have an exciting announcement to make before not too long for a bigger contract there. And we brought someone on board who's got lots of experience within education and food service. So pushing on that one. And I see education also as a real driver to try and grow our grocery listings and grow the brand, so that children are becoming aware of it at a young age, and they're having it in the nursery and then they see it in the supermarket. That's kind of logical flow for us. And then direct to consumer. So we have started a fledgling shop, and it kind of paused because we were having some supply issues, like a lot of people have had, and had to prioritize stock to Asda and to the nurseries. But we're going to pick that back up. And I think there's
you told us. You just said the nurseries. You told us.
Yes.
What's happening?
the nurseries. Yeah, so I think there's a real opportunity there also to grow online, and look at subscription models. We are still niche, but then this is what, not everyone lives near an Asda, right? So we've got a long shelf life on our product, so why not? We should be servicing people and making it easy for people to get hold of these products. So we'll continue to grow in those three channels. We're also in 2022, yes, we'll be looking at introducing a fourth channel of family leisure. So again, where do children spend a lot of their time? Out of home. It's in the amusement parks, in the play parks. So looking at how we can break into those channels. And then export. So yeah, we definitely want to export. We're looking at some key markets in Europe, and possibly then in the Middle East as well. So it's hard. You want to be structured and you want to be focused, but you also want to be responsive to opportunities. So we've had a lot of interest from Israel at the moment, and also quite a big multiple in Germany. So we kind of want to make sure that we're also kind of open to those opportunities, because if people are knocking on our door, we don't want to be shutting the door. We want to be opening it and having those discussions and trying to get it to as many people as possible.
So I love the idea of nurseries and schools in particular, because when a parent finds something they love, they just really grab a hold of it and it becomes part of their daily routine, especially when it's good for their kids and has less sugar, has like fortification and so on. So, if you can get this into schools and nurseries, the parents will go harass the retailers to take this product. If they're getting it every day through the school or the nursery, and then they're like, screw this, I want to go buy it at my local Waitrose, they're going to go give them a hard time until they make the right decision.
That's what we want. We want all those ambassadors out there, all those mums and dads knocking on buyers' doors. Absolutely. So yeah, part of our strategy around the online is building that community and building those ambassadors. And we've started that. We launched a big taste club to test our reformulation as we were developing it. And we had over 400 people apply for 50 places. And these people hadn't heard of us before. So we know there's a demand there. And it's how do we engage those people so they feel part of the brand and they can go out there and be our ambassadors and share what we do.
Absolutely. We're actually having some interesting conversations with Disney and some other places like that. So, not Disney France. That's probably a different group. But yeah. So, when you're ready for the US or Asia, let's talk about it. So, we've talked about how you got started. We've talked about your co-founder, and we've talked about the marketplace. What happens actually, I've got two questions here, so let's see if we can remember both of them. One is geography. So at some point, do you see yourself stepping outside of the UK, or really the next 2 or 3 years is much more about deepening your marketplace there?
No, we definitely want to be looking outside the UK. So I think I mentioned, so we're looking at key areas in Europe. So we think there's in 2022/23 looking at France and Middle East as potential markets, and then kind of streaming it down from there. So we, as I said, we have someone on board who's also expert in export. So he's got lots of ideas about where to take us and which supermarkets might be interested in us overseas. And then longer term, the USA and Asia are obvious ones. The USA, I think would be a great market for us, but it needs a bit more of a planned introduction into that market, I think. And then Asia, we know that there's they've got issues with lactose and dairy, and so again another strong market for us. We did speak to an export third-party export company, and they also said, look, Asia's a good market for you. Their best-selling brand that has ever been for kids has been Ella's Kitchen, and they're getting requests for more of that type of product, so we'd be daft not to be looking there.
Yeah, absolutely. You also mentioned, and now I'm going to bring it back to that party with your son, there was a lunchbox you described, and the only thing he could really eat in it was the apple, despite the fact that there was chips with some dairy content, there was a Baby Bell, there was a cheese sandwich, and there were chips. That was that was what was in there, right? And obviously there's the birthday cake.
And a chocolate bar, I think. There was a chocolate bar or something, yeah.
Okay, so what's next after yogurt?
We've got so many ideas, but I think you've kind of knocked the nail on the head there. So we are looking at kind of lunchbox swaps. So that kind of gives you a good idea about what sort of things we'd be trying to tackle. So things again.
Sorry, what are lunchbox swaps? Forgive me.
So just like you said, a lunchbox. So all the things that go into a school lunchbox for your kid. Yeah. Looking at how we swap the dairy for an alternative, or something that contains dairy for an alternative that doesn't compromise on nutrition, that is properly offering functional health benefits for a child, and that we exist to make life easier for families. So we don't, there's lots of fruit leathers out there and crisps that kids can eat, but that's not necessarily making life easier for families. It's about convenience. We want to be about offering convenience swaps. So things that parents rely on as the everyday, how can we bring in those substitutes that doesn't compromise on things? So, for example, I don't want to give too much away, but you've been talking about what was in that lunchbox, like bars,
cheese sandwich,
cheeses, baby bells, those sort of things. So think along those lines, and that's definitely where we're heading. And then in the yogurt, we also are very aware that families eat together, right? And so we know that a really popular format is a large family sharing pot. So, we'd be looking at different formats for our yogurts. So a Little Bandits big pot that's about a family occasion that families can all enjoy. Yeah,
like
so looking at formats.
Barney have those little ones, but they also have the enormous ones, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So looking at different formats as well.
I was also just thinking we need different terminology, because you were saying substitutes, like, a kind of a poor replacement of. You also said earlier that it was in the less than category.
The free from
right?
category?
Free from category.
That's the UK, so maybe it's different overseas, but here it's called the free from category. Yeah, the free from aisle. Yeah. And free from isn't a very nice category, is it?
Doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it always feels a bit second class, isn't it? I think you're right. We need to rethink that.
More than. Better than.
Yeah, better than. Yeah, exactly. I like that.
All right. So 2022, 2023, some more, maybe some geographic expansion. 2022, I would guess, is focused on moving into other channels and also more grocery, so more doors outside of Asda.
And products. Yeah. We know that a key to unlocking a lot of listings is also going to be innovation. And so, looking at some of those new product ideas that we've got, the next iteration of our yogurt that has, a high protein content and maybe, potentially a first to market innovative base, as we swap our coconut out. I think those offer us a really good opportunity to unlock more listings.
Are the buyers typically dairy buyers? So you end up, if you've got a relationship with the dairy buyer for yogurt, that person is also going to be the buyer for the cheese and the baby bells and all that sort of thing, or are they completely separate?
It's mostly separate from our experience, from the big multiples anyway, apart from one who we did talk to the yogurt buyer for. The rest have been in the chilled free from. So they now have chilled free from buyers, and that's where we would normally sit. And then also you've got your free from ambience. That's another buyer again as we move to different categories potentially. The free from is still
its own buyer.
Yeah, its own buyer mainly.
So if you went for new Skews, new products, you'd have to build a kind of a net new relationship with new buyers, or are you going to be sort of cognizant of what one of the things I did when I had my own company was I went to my buyer, who I had a great relationship with, and said, what do you need? Like, what other products are you actually white space looking for your particular category? And if I could provide a good version of it, you would stock it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay, I need one of these, and one of these. If you can find one, or if you can be one, or if you can create one, I'll take it very, very seriously. So I was able to kind of go deep with one buyer, as opposed to trying to build a new relationship from scratch with somebody completely different. It doesn't always work that way, but one idea.
I know, and I think you're right. And I think for some of our product ideas that will work. With the absence of one or two of them, which would be a different buyer, because chilled is obviously very specific, and then they've got ambience. They are two different buyers, but most of our range, if we think about the things we've just talked about, are still going to be within the chilled category. And so I think that still works for us. And yes, you want to be answering the problems that they have. So we are always talking about the ideas that we've got with our buyers, because we want them to understand we're more than just yogurt, and we want them to come on board for the long term with us. So I think that's a really valid point.
And they get emotionally committed to the success of the new product as well. So
because I think all buyers also want to be famous, right? They want to be the one to discover the next big thing, and that's what you need to sell them, that big vision.
So what have been some of the toughest things about getting started, starting a business, growing a business, being a parent with a young child while doing all of those things? From your point of view, what have been the most noticeable one or two challenges that you've had to grapple with?
I think there's one that's from the business side, finding the right manufacturer, and I'm sure that's probably what most people say in this business, but I think we've had that added layer of complexity because we wanted to be in a factory that doesn't handle dairy. So it's not like just a plant-based product that a lot of people will be able to compromise on where it's made. For us, that was really important because we were selling something, a great product, but also reassurance to parents that don't worry, there won't be cross-contamination here. There is no risk to your child. So that was hard, and basically had to pull on a lot of networks because at the time when I was finding one, we were also going through Brexit. So I was like, I didn't want to risk going to Europe because I had no idea what was going to happen with Brexit. And the startups that I had spoken to were getting really stung in that area. So for me, it was like, okay, it has to be UK, can't handle dairy at a minimum, but ideally no soya as well, and ideally no nuts because it's for kids. And suddenly you're getting smaller and smaller. And then looking for ones that had the capacity and knowledge of creating yogurts, plant-based yogurts, but for kids, again, manufacturers who had the right equipment, suddenly they were like none. And it was going to be about investment in equipment. And then through our networks, we found someone who was really under the radar, has been doing it since the 1980s, could fit, had the equipment to do it in small pots. It was like, brilliant. Okay. And so that's who we're going with. And the bonus of going with them is because of their experience and longevity of doing this, they knew how to get us a long shelf life as well, which has been amazing. Because as a startup, that's another big worry, right? Your wastage. So they've been brilliant. As we scale up, there's other challenges with that because they are a small family run unit. So it's can we grow with them? How do we grow with them? Let's find a backup as well, because you never want to be caught short if something happens or you can no longer work with your manufacturer. So we're constantly trying to think about the future. When we scale up, what do we need? Can we get that with where our manufacturer? Do we need to move to a new one? So the manufacturing was a challenge for us. And then I suppose the other challenge, has been more personal about juggling the commitments. I've created this business because of my child, but I don't want him to suffer because of the business, and you want to be a present parent at the same time. So that's not just for me, and that's a lot of other startups, right? Will always have that challenge. And I've got parents who are needing more support, and so you're kind of getting pulled in lots of different directions. So that's an ongoing challenge, but as I say, one that I know I'm not alone in.
So you were pitching on a stage in Paris about 3 or 4 days ago in a room of about 200, business people, investors, other entrepreneurs, and your son was on screen. How does he feel about being, somewhat famous? Obviously, you haven't used his likeness in the packaging and so on, which I totally, as a parent, respect. But he's certainly part of the story.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's a really interesting one because it was at the beginning, it was quite challenging because he's so young, he can't give consent to a lot of this. So, I try and have a conversation. I knew I didn't want his name on there, but, on the bottom of our pack, we are on there because it explains the story. And that was a conversation I did have with him, albeit he was young. And when I went to Paris, he didn't want me to go away again because I'd just been away to Switzerland. And he was like, they shouldn't make you do something you don't want to do. And I was like, no, I do want to do it. And then I had to explain why. And I was like talking about the experience. It was an amazing experience, and an opportunity to hopefully find people who want to support what we're doing, and other children like you. And he said, will you be talking about me? And I was like, yes, I will. He said, will I be even more famous? And I was like, yes. And he was like, I'm fine. And he was fine when we go. So at the moment, you try and have those discussions, and I try to you always be balanced in it. So yes, of course, he's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. So he's part of that journey, and I get him involved. He's been involved in helping me pack yogurts up and writing messages, and we got a message from a father and his daughter, and he helps me write back to them. So he's involved in it. He knows all along the way, he knows why we're doing this. And if he says don't take my photo one day, I don't take his photo, and it's fine. And that's my Instagram opportunity lost, but that's fine because I need to give him the autonomy to make those decisions when he can.
Absolutely. So it sounds like it's been a really interesting experience for him, and an interesting experience for you. If you were able to get some help, obviously you did the pitching in front of all those investors and so on, but if someone listening today is excited about Little Bandits, about kids friendly, non-allergen yogurt and other products, what's the best way for them to engage with you, and what kind of help are you looking for?
Well, first of all, please reach out to me. We love hearing from people, and you can just get me at Jess at littlebandits.com, hungrylittlebandits.com. Hope I got that right.
Let's slow that down just for a second.
Okay,
Jess,
sorry.
Jess at
hungrylittlebandits.com.
hungrylittlebandits.com. Okay.
Yeah.
And the website to go find it to make sure they're getting it right is hungrylittlebandits.com.
That's right. Yeah. Go find us. So that's how you can reach me, and also via LinkedIn. But so where do we need help? Next year we will be early in Q1 of next year. We'll be launching our seed round. So anyone who might be interested in chatting and finding out more, please do get in touch. But what's been wonderful about Big Ideas Ventures supporting us and investing in our business is that it's felt like a partnership, and that's been wonderful. And having access to networks and support across all areas of the business, you can't put a price on that. That's amazing. And so, of course, we're always looking, as well as investment, for anybody who wants to get involved in other aspects of the business and they think they've got skills and networks and experience that can help. We would love to hear from you.
Now, one of the things I've always been talking to you about and just really excited about, I am just so excited about your characters, your Bandito characters. So if there's anyone who goes along to Hungry Little Bandits and sees the characters, and if they have a skill set in video creation, animation, sketching, drawing, I'm sure that Jess would love to get drawings, sketches, prototypes, anything you can think of around Little Banditos and the characters, because the more we can get those fellas out, fellas and fellettes, I don't know what the equivalent of fella is in female, multi-gender based characters out there, the better the story will be for this product.
Absolutely. And we had someone who was very generous and did a pro bono piece of animation when we launched, and it's amazing. And anyone who can help on that aspects and bring them to life, we could be doing so much with those characters and the brand. We would love support in that. Absolutely.
Maybe, I don't know if this is ever going to be listened to more than like 3 people and my grandmother, but which would be challenging because she's dead. But if anyone's listening, maybe we do this. If people do create some little animation pieces, some sketches, some pictures, you name it, with the characters, by the end of 2022, if Jess picks the best one, we'll send them, I don't know, either $500 or we'll send them a gift pack of all, as many Big Idea products as we can find. So
that would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be good? So end of 2022, you choose if you get more than like 7.
Yeah.
If you get more than 7, you choose the best one, and we'll send that person a gift of some kind.
Amazing. This is great. This is another great way to incentivize people. I'll send this around, incentivize people to watch it. So there's an opportunity at the end.
All right.
Boost our numbers.
People can get hold of you at Jess at hungrylittlebandits.com. I'm guessing you're on LinkedIn as well.
I am, yeah. You can find the business page Little Bandits there, and also myself.
Jessica Harris.
Yeah.
Awesome. What else? What else do we need to say to people? You're looking for graphic designers, sketches, video, animation, buyers for amazing products in the UK. If people are interested in this product outside of the UK, perhaps in France, they should reach out as well, I guess, right?
Please, definitely, because as I say, we've got someone on board now who can, lead in that area and have those discussions. So yes, please.
And you said you were going to be opening up your funding round next year sometime?
Q1 of next year. So we also have, if you're listening in the UK, we still have SEIS available for any UK angels who might be interested in that scheme. So that's a really good opportunity. And so yes, we want to be going out before that runs out for us.
And that's the UK, but you would be interested in talking to smart investors outside of the UK as well, right?
Absolutely everywhere. It's just, SEIS is a UK tax incentive scheme for investors. So it's a really good opportunity for everyone in the UK, but we'll be going bigger than that. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Do me a favor, show me those products one more time and show everybody else those products one more time, because the packaging is really something to be proud of. So that's
it kind of stands out on shelf. So that's the side that's on shelf next to all the other ones, and then on top you can kind of see it tells you what your source is. And then the thing that I think we won some awards for our branding, but also from the Free From Food Awards. So I don't know if you can see our little Bandito there. So a lot of brands will have this may contain, and they slap it on everything, and it doesn't help the consumer ascertain risk at all as an allergy parent. We want to just put a bit of a smile and say, actually, this only contains mischief. It's kind of like trying to make people smile when they're buying our products. It's anxiety inducing enough when your child's got allergies, but let's reassure them, and let's also provide a bit of humor while doing it.
Yeah, it's one time I was in Starbucks and I'd ordered a plant-based drink of some kind, which typically is made with it was like a plant-based milkshake, or I don't remember exactly what it was, and they were using a blender, and I noticed as they finished pouring my drink into it, they basically rinsed that blending container, and then they poured a big jug of milk into it, like regular milk, like dairy milk. I'm like, excuse me, you just put dairy milk in the same blender that you just poured my like plant-based, And they were like, yeah, well, we can't make them independent, like, we just use dairy, non-dairy in the same blending machines. I'm like, okay, so I know now that whatever I'm getting in my drink has dairy as well as non-dairy mixed in.
Yeah, it's common. It's common. I just took Jonah for a hot chocolate today to make him feel better, and you check. I was like, does it come from the same what should we call it? The thing that frothers. And they're like, no, it's a separate one. So I was like, fine, we can have it then. But we kind of get used to checking. But I think that's the difference. So I think plant-based has been really helpful, but it is challenging. So it doesn't necessarily make it easier for an allergy parent, because you have to check that side of things, the contamination side of things. Yeah.
Well, now they have the perfect choice if they want to give their kids yogurt, and if they have any sort of allergies to dairy at all.
Yeah.
But even if they don't have any allergies to dairy, this product tastes amazing, so they should try it anyway. Because it has 50% less sugar than regular sugar. No more kids running around with their hands in the air with a sugar high.
And then having a sugar crash. Not sure which one is worse.
Yeah, I know. I do. Okay, Jessica Harris, HungryLittleBandits.com. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Andrew.
If anyone needs to reach out to you, you've given them all the ways, and we encourage anyone to do that. I'm going to press pause. I thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
So I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Jessica and finding out more about Hungry Little Bandits. Thanks for coming along. Again, this is Andrew Ive from Big Idea Ventures. We focus on helping founders deliver great companies to the market, and our mission is solving the world's greatest challenges by backing the world's best entrepreneurs, scientists, and engineers. So if you need to reach out to me, please do so via LinkedIn or via bigideaventures.com. Like and subscribe, and we'll let you know when the next podcast is available or the next YouTube video is available. So thanks again. If it's the time of year when you're listening to this now, which is strange because it's always now for you, but right now we are in the beginning of December. The holidays are coming, and if you're listening to this in December, happy holidays to you. And I hope you have a wonderful time with friends and family. Okay, thanks for coming along to the Big Idea Podcast. Bye.